Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another podcast of Command Your Confidence. I am joined today by Mac the Day Gamer, and thank you very much for coming on again. It's been a while. This has been long awaited.
Yeah, man, good to be on here again. It's been. I wonder when the last time we did a show is
I,
actually.
I think it was about a year ago around this time. Honestly, I think it was because I think it was last Thanksgiving when we did a show.
Wow, that's pretty crazy, man. Time flies.
Yeah,
Time
I
really flies.
uh I was doing podcasting all the way up until I was doing it quite consistently all the way up until the middle of February, and that's when I kind of got busy with other stuff. So I've been on and off this platform, but I'm just happy to be back here, and I'm gonna you know work on delegating, putting some time into this, I should say, even when I get back on my busy streak again, because I really like creating this content, just kind of get message across, help people out and stuff like that.
Yeah, man. Sometimes other things. Other things take over. Personal life, other things going on. So sometimes it's very time consuming to make content. Uh,
Hmm. Yeah, it is. It is a lot of work, but I think my goal is I really want to utilize this platform to help people. I basically want to do some coaching and stuff moving forward with it. So I'm going to hit it hard, and plus I think doing stuff like this holds me accountable too. You know what I'm saying? Because I'd like to be authentic in some of the stuff I'm talking about. Even though I have all my successes and stuff, I still am facing challenges to this day.
mm. Yeah, man. You got to keep yourself sharp. Yeah,
Hmm.
hold yourself accountable, um, not let yourself slack off. Yeah, man, it's definitely important. Um, yeah, I find since I quit, because I basically kind of was on and off with like partying and drinking since since 2019, and then
Hmm.
I just quit. I quit again in during summer, but it's just yeah, it definitely helps. It doesn't take much to real like sometimes you find yourself in a situation or a way of living that is like, holy shit, this isn't what I should be doing. uh,
Right. No, I hear you. I like to have a couple drinks, because I keep busy and stuff, but sometimes I
mm,
think I overdo it on the weekend because I like to have fun. And I'm realizing now that is keeping me, I think, from performing to my top level because I'm
right.
still grinding away, but, I'm still doing it with the headache and everything. And I'm like, so
Yeah.
I'm thinking if I can at least cut back on that, and I will be more focused and stuff in what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mm.
alcohol can affect the way you produce stuff and everything. You know what I'm saying? Your
Oh,
your
for
your, your
sure.
mindset, your energy level, and everything. So it's a good idea to kind of just kind of either take a quit cold turkey or just kind of watch yourself and stuff.
Mm. Yeah, when you're not drinking, it's a huge advantage. But I still socialize. I still go out. I go out at the weekends. But definitely next year, going from 2023, I'm even thinking of taking a step back from nightlife as well, because even though I don't drink and I haven't been drinking since the summer, I still go to club or still meet my friends. I go to a club, trying to pick up chicks, trying gaming, all that stuff. But it kind of really fucks with your schedule, like your sleep patterns and everything like that. So even though you're not dealing with a hangover, you're not dealing with any of that. I go out, stay out all night till 6, 7 a.m. Even though I'm not, womanizing, doing all that stuff, having a good time. But yeah, that just like messes with your sleep pattern. You know,
Hmm.
obviously, you know, since I'm not drinking, I'd be drinking Red Bulls, and then that fucks with your you go home at like 7 a.m. and you're kind of wired on caffeine.
Right.
And you just can't even sleep even though you've been out all night. So yeah, I'm just thinking of going like doing like way less nightlife next year and just kind of embracing like day games my thing and I still do it. I've never slacked off on that, but
Right.
I'm thinking about just cutting down on nightlife to like maybe once a month. Seriously, like because at this point in my life, I do it pretty much every weekend. There's always something on, there's always but it just kind of messes with your patterns. It really fucks
Hmm.
up your diet as well and everything, because you're not, your sleep pattern just gets totally fucking skewed because you've like,
Hmm.
you just totally mess up your schedule, and then that takes a few days for it to set back in to normal patterns. And then
Hmm.
by the time it's normal, it's straight back, you fuck it up again because it's already the next weekend. So it's like, I just think it definitely takes its toll on you. Like,
Right.
that's even without without alcohol. But it's just like, and it's not that my body can't handle it. It's not that I'm getting older. Like, I'm getting older, but it's
Hmm.
just like, as you become older, you just kind of want to optimize your body to make sure that it's working at optimal,
Yeah, I like what you're
capacity.
saying. Yeah, I just turned a big 4-0 this year, my friend.
Yeah, you wouldn't even know it, man.
Yeah, I know, and, no, it's weird, like, because I realize I can't handle, like, the whole, like, not, partying life like I used to. I even hop in early, and a lot of people give me shit about it. But I'm like, after, like, because I go out at 8, and then want to be in by, 9, not 9, but, like, 11, 12 o'clock is my latest, but, no, it does take a toll, like, I don't really do the nightclub scene that much anymore. The only time I do is, like, we go to these meetup events, and they're in the nightclub scene, and they can get, yeah, they can get kind of, how should I say, you can kind of get carried away there, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And I can see how that, yeah, affects the pattern. But
The
yeah,
thing, yeah. The
but
thing is,
yeah,
I can absolutely handle it, but it's not. It's just that it's like it fucks up you after it. Like, as in your diet, your sleep patterns, all that stuff. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
right. No, that's true. But yeah, let's go into the topic of today's show and looks, money, and status. And does that really matter? Because like it can swing both ways if you think about it. I mean, you can have looks, money, and status, but if you don't have the mindset, the confidence, and the skill set, I mean, that can really throw you off as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, looks, money, status. It's the whole, looks. You know, they're all important in different ways. Um, it's just like, where do you even start talking about it? Like, I mean, looks, money, status. So looks like kind of get you in the door. Like, looks
Hmm.
are what, if you're doing cold approach, if wherever you're meeting a woman, like, you have to pass a certain like standard, right? And that's kind of a cold hard truth that a lot of guys don't even like to accept, even in the manosphere or the red pill space. Um, like, I'm as a gamer, I'm just putting myself in front of women like so often. So I have a really good understanding about how important looks are in terms of like getting a female's attention. Like, because like, in terms of the way some days I dress, like, I'm dressed very casually. I'm not dressed very, I always try and dress well. Like, I like fashion, I like to look good, but
Hmm.
there's a difference in how receptive women are to me depending on like what I'm wearing. And it sounds very fickle, but it's true. Even down to things: do I have a fresh haircut? Is it like, how sharp am I looking, right? And these things matter, and it's very noticeable when I go out and do a day game. uh,
Hmm.
it's actually noticeable, like the receptivity of women. So, like, on days where maybe I'm just like, I didn't put that much effort in. Like I said, I always like, I never go out of my, like, I never go out looking like a slob, but some days, like, I'm just like not giving a shit. I'm not really, I'm maybe just going out to do some shopping. And then I see a hot girl, but I do some game in the store or whatever, approach a few girls on my way to, when I'm doing my errands.
Hmm.
I'm not like dressed very well. I'm not like like super like sharp. Like, I'm not looking super stylish. I like to maybe I can still maybe get a few numbers, maybe it's all right, but like it's a little like I have to work a little harder for it. But um, if I'm going out like to, on a Saturday afternoon, I'm gonna, wear fucking fresh jeans, nice brand new t-shirt, you know, nice hair, fresh haircut, nicely trimmed up beard. Like I know I'm trying to look as fresh as I can.
Right.
And it's just like it's literally noticeable because women are women that, if you weren't looking as fresh, just the numbers are higher. And you get more IOIs, it
Hmm.
definitely matters. So looks matter in the sense that like it kind of gets you in the door, it gets you the interview. Like it gets you the interview. That's what it does.
Right.
Looking good gets you the interview. It doesn't get you the job. So that's an analogy you can
Right.
make.
But I remember when I first met you and I was working on your website and you were giving me some consulting advice. I remember you mentioned something about like, find a style that's you, wear clothes that fit and everything. And so I took your advice and I actually I wore a lot of jeans that were not even my size. And so I had to figure out my size. And I had a style down, but I thought I could refine it a bit. And I realized when I got like clothes that fit and everything, it made me feel a little bit confident in myself and everything too. So be able to present that and have that feeling. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah. So when you're thinking about fashion, you really want to like you need to think about a few things. You need to think about like what do you like, and then you need to also consider. So you're obviously dressing like you don't want like I would never in a million years dress entirely just for women. Like I wouldn't put on like even if I'm you have to dress like according to what kind of style that you like. But you also need to take into account also what like kind of what women like what are women attracted to. You need to understand like female psychology, you know.
Hmm.
So you take into the account those two things, and it's that like it's that simple. What kind of style do I like? What do I like personally? And then you consider like, oh, you also understand what females are attracted to. So as men, we know that females are attracted to like biceps. They're attracted to muscular arms. So that's why, like generally speaking, women like guys that are wearing well-fitted tight t-shirts around their bicep because it makes your arms look more muscular and bigger instead of a baggy t-shirt. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. But
That's just an example. That's just like one example. It's not that you
right.
can never wear like a baggy t-shirt as a guy. You can. It depends on the style. Like, if you're going for like, there's so many different styles. It depends on who you are and what you're about. There's some spam in there,
Yeah,
but
I know. I just had to get rid of it.
girls for
XYZ was blocked. No,
yeah,
but no, I agree. But see, but one thing though, too, you can dress up and have the looks, but I think if you can show up in front of a girl and you're all like nervous, so you can look cute and have the muscles, but if you're all nervous and not sure of yourself, then that interview is gonna be over quick. You know what
right.
I'm saying?
Yeah, so that's my point. It'll get you the interview, but you don't get the job, right? Like if you're a weirdo and it's not even that you're a weirdo. It's just that you're not confident. Like if you don't have that confidence. But women are very harsh in that regard. Like they label guys as weirdos, even though they're just not so confident.
Hmm.
And some guys come across as being weird, even though they're not necessarily weird. It's just that they don't know how to interact with women normally. In a,
Hmm.
in a casual, calm manner. You know, the ideal kind of in like vibe you want to have when doing day game is kind of like nonchalant, like relaxed, funny. It can, the more serious your interaction is, the worse it is. Like, so if you're rolling up to a girl and it's like there's no like there's no smiles, like there's no laughter, there's no jokes being cracked, like, and she still gives you her number, you're basically running off like your looks because your
Hmm.
game is shit. like your game is bad. Like if you're not making a girl smile or laugh or anything, it's very unlikely that she would even give you her number if that's like how the interaction is going. Because
Mm-hmm.
I do boot camps here in Tokyo, and like I see it, all the time. Where it's the first thing I tell guys. Like I roll up, when because I always want to see how they approach women before I tell them anything. Because
Mm-hmm.
when I meet guys for a boot camp, I don't tell them what to wear. I don't tell them anything because I need to see where they're at with game. But
Mm-hmm.
the first mistake guys make is that they're like extremely serious, like when they roll up to girls, like they're
What do you
like
mean by that? Are they just
they're nervous, so their face has no expression. Like they're like, excuse me, like they're like just very serious. They're not like it's, and that creeps girls out. Like girls are like, what the like they're kind of surprised. Like first of all, like if someone like approaches you out and about in the street, you're kind of surprised. Like even as a dude, you're gonna be kind of caught off guard. Like, what does this person want? You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
So like if that person is like kind of really like like has a very serious face and they're not like smiling or like it just doesn't come across as being very friendly. So a lot of
Mm-hmm.
guys, those guys get like rejected like 9 out of 10,
Right.
like hardcore, like because they're just not approaching right, you know.
Right. Well, you
Uh,
see, and you know what? It's funny you said that. Because no, I'm doing some videos and stuff lately on some mindfulness. So I'm mixing that in with the dating stuff because it can relate to anything. But like one problem I had, because like when that probably hinder guys from like moving forward is they judge the girl, they judge themselves. You know what I'm saying? They're like, well, that girl's too pretty enough. She's not going to like me, or that girl looks like a bitch and she's not going to want to talk to me. You know what I'm saying?
mm,
You notice you notice about that a lot with a lot of the people you talk to? Like that's what because a lot of people do have that mindset. Like I know some people like, so yeah, like I remember not like I don't remember, like I remember I was out at a nightclub one time and I was with a guy. We were at one of my events and he wanted to go talk to girls. I'm like, okay, well, let's go approach that group of girls right there and everything. And he said to me, well, they're not going to want to talk to us because they're with a group. They're not going to care. But I just showed them wrong. I just went in and did it. And
mm.
some guys have that judgment, like because they just. And I think too, a lot of it's like a mindset thing about how they view themselves as well.
Yeah, I mean, you really, the thing about gaming is, trying to game with a bad wingman is you might as well not game at all. It's really terrible. So, like, if you have a bad wingman, you're far better off gaming yourself. That's the cold hard truth of it, because a bad wingman will bring you down and will bring your sets down. Um,
Mhm.
it's yeah,
I've had plenty of those.
yeah, it can be quite hard to find a good wingman actually, because most guys don't have good game. Most guys really don't. So if you find a good wingman, like try and stay on good terms with them, because they're really not that very common. Really not. Like they're really not. Most guys are pretty bad at game.
Hmm.
There's so many things, signs of guys. There's so many little things that guys do, um, that make their game bad. Like it can getting butthurt, getting jealous, getting like being negative, like being too picky, being like just there's so many little things, and it can just make it so much harder to get to be
Well, yeah,
successful.
because it's a mindset thing. That's what's ruining their game. Because they get butthurt, like they get tired of being rejected. I think they get so focused on just wanting to get the girl, and that they don't. So I think they kind of try hard to do that, and
Yeah,
that keeps them from being authentic and everything when they make their approach. You know what I'm
right.
saying?
Yeah,
And they
yeah,
they just gotta learn to like not give a damn, like just
yeah.
not give a fuck. If it's gonna work out, it's gonna work out. And that and
So,
that and
mm,
that's why you just gotta like not be afraid to like if you have those judgments coming up, you just go for it, and then if it works out, it works out. If not, eventually the more approaches you do, eventually it will work out.
right. Yeah. So yeah, for sure. So like, I mean, if you're a guy and you're always doing wingman game, but you're not having much success because you think the guy's negative, then you should really try and you might need to find a new wingman or also game by yourself, because it's
Yeah,
like I said,
I prefer that. That's my easier way to do it, because whenever I've tried to bring a wingman in, it just really never worked out for me. You know what I'm saying? And like,
is some guys they're not necessarily bad people, but you can't game with them. You can't include them in your dating life, or that's just the way it is, man. Sometimes you have friends for certain things, and you have other friends for other things. You
hmm
gotta like categorize. That's just the way it is. Ideally, obviously, you want a friend that you can do anything with. You can do a game with them, you can hang out with, you can play sports with, you can go to the gym with. That's an ideal situation. And it's
hmm
good to have friends like that. But sometimes, it's not like it doesn't work out like that. And
right.
honestly, I have some friends that I don't do game with because they're not good at, they're like, even because the problem is, I do certain things with them, but I'm not gonna do game with them. And the thing is, because I teach game, but the thing with when you're friends with someone, it makes it very hard to teach them. Very hard. So like, because they're not gonna like oftentimes a friend won't listen, like they're not gonna listen to you,
hmm
but so that just creates conflict, like, and I'm not,
hmm
so I don't try and teach people. I only teach people that come to me to learn, like, and pay me. Unless if a friend came to me and willingly listened, but it's very rare because ego and all that, and they think
hmm
that some. So yeah, I mean, if a guy if I ever do a game with a guy and he's bad at it and like shows red flags and he's unwilling to learn or shows any kind of kickback when I try and check him, like I'll be like, okay, I'm never. They're out like permanently, like blacklisted, and
hmm
that's just the way I roll. Because if you continue to roll with people that like are showing red flags, it just the tension builds up, and
It's gonna
you're
rub
gonna
off on
fall
you
apart
instead of
anyway.
I'm
Huh?
sorry. I'm so sorry, but so if you hang out with people who are red flags, that's just going to rub off on you, and it's going to keep you from growing as an individual.
Well, it'll keep you growing as an individual. But also it's going to, yeah. I mean, eventually it's gonna blow up, and you're gonna have a confrontation about it. So you can either have that confrontation, or you can just like cut them off that aspect of your life. And I would say it's better to cut them off.
hmm
I'm talking about, that's just the way it is, because I think life's too short to be like, trying to teach people who aren't willing to learn.
Right, that's
You
true,
know,
and
like, so let's it makes sense. I'm not gonna I don't I don't try and yeah, like I said, people have to be willing to like improve. I'm willing to improve, like, in certain, I'm not perfect. I'm always willing to try and learn.
yep.
But yeah, some guys, even though their game sucks, they're still not willing to like try and listen and improve and learn, because ego
hmm
gets in the way. You got to kind of get rid of your ego, like when it comes to learning, um because yeah, a lot of guys, they think, guys with big egos, they think that they're great and they don't need to learn anything new, and it's like there's nothing wrong, yet their game can suck, and they don't have much
Right.
success.
No,
So
that's true. You got to be open to what other people have to say if you want to grow.
yeah,
That's what I realized.
one of
Sometimes the truth sucks, though. But I think I look at every situation I get into in life, and especially so bad, even bad situations I get into, I always learn from them. And I try not to work on not repeating that mistake again when I get in a certain situation. I think
mm,
that's important to have that awareness and realize that.
mm,
Because like if you don't, you're just going to end up making the same mistakes. And the same comes when you're trying to go out there and learn to meet women. If you are going out there and you're not seeing any results and stuff, and you keep doing the same thing, then if you're not open to trying new things, that's just not you're going to get stuck, and you're not going to learn anything. So that's
Mm,
why you got to, you need to have a coach, or critique yourself, and reflect upon what you can do better next time, and approach or
mm.
do differently, so that in that way, and then go in there and implement that. Because if you're going out there and doing it, you can try something new, and eventually you'll find something that works.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, certainly. I mean, the thing I enjoy about teaching is that when guys come to me wanting to learn, there's no like, they're not like speaking back. They're not basically trying to fight with me over advice and stuff. It's like they're willing to absorb what the advice I have to give them, But
Hmm.
if it's like someone I know as a friend, it's generally they'll be like, oh, but that doesn't work. They'll be negative about things. So as I said, like occasionally, sometimes I have like friends from they obviously know that I teach game. Um, and they'll ask me advice about certain things, how, or they'll tell me their dating problems. And I used to do this. I used to try and give them advice, but like I said earlier, like it falls on deaf ears, or they'll resist the advice. So yeah, I mean, it just it is what it is. So I've given up on trying to help, like, you know, I just unfortunately, you just like I said, you just have to categorize people sometimes, you
Right.
know.
No, I hear you, because I mean, because you're kind of wasting their time. You're wasting your time in theirs. They're not willing to learn and take
Mm.
themselves to the next level, and that's what you
Yeah,
got to do. Because if you don't want to listen to what a mentor is trying to tell you, then you're not. I mean, you're just wasting your
yeah,
time.
yeah. If you're, the kind of people who ask you for advice, but then like kind of throw the advice back in your face, or it's like they might not necessarily n- be asking for advice, but they're kind of telling you their problems, and then the solution to the problem, so you just naturally feel like telling them the solution. Like you're like, you know, some guy tells me about why he's not sealing the deal, and I'm like, oh well, maybe you're not it's location or something very simple. um so they're telling you these problems, and then you tell them the solution, but they're like, oh, that doesn't work, or that doesn't, it's like, that's a red flag. And if someone does that, and it doesn't have to be only to do with dating or game, but like in any kind of friendship, that's definitely a big red flag, if your
Hmm.
friend is like telling you his problems, but not willing to, like, you know, or is like throwing your advice back in your face, kind of thing. Yeah,
Right. No, I hear
one of
you.
my
Yeah.
pet peeves. More than a pet peeve, it boils my piss, to be honest. Like, because you're listening to
It drives you
someone,
crazy, my friend. I can tell.
huh?
It drives you crazy.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, no, I mean, if because you're listening to someone's problems, and then they're not willing to, or they're being almost, they're rejecting your advice almost in an aggressive manner. But yeah, I
Hmm.
mean, it's just
Right.
important
Yeah.
to find guys that you get on well with, and that you're just having a good time with, guys that are just for me, an ideal wingman. I have a few, like a very few, only a very few in Tokyo, and they're very hard to find. An ideal wingman is a guy who is, you know honestly, kind of not exactly the same as you, but like similar, like as in similar height, similar build. The reason this is important. Oh shit.
I just put you in solo mode. Don't worry
Oh
about
yeah.
it. You're still
Oh, I
here.
thought you were bounced off the screen,
I'm
but
just trying to change the perspectives. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So the reason, you know, being similar is important, because obviously when you're approaching chicks, with a wingman, you're a pair, so she's obviously going to be with a friend. So you want it to be kind of interchangeable. If you're like totally different from your wingman partner, it can create conflict. Like, as in, one of the girls might like one of you too much. It creates like, when you do game with a guy that is much better looking than you, or you're much better looking than your wingman, that's honestly not an ideal situation. That's kind of a cold hard truth, because the girls are gonna give their attention to either you or your wingman, and it's just gonna make it harder to like create balance. So yeah, a wingman that's similar to you, but obviously not, it doesn't need to be exactly the same, but like we're talking similar, similar looks. So if you're both set, 6 7s out of 10, um, you know, also gets game, doesn't have to be amazing at game, but gets it, understands, how to have a good time and is there to have a good time. And also isn't doesn't have extremely high standards. Obviously, it's good to have high standards, but some guys have. It's funny because they're like extremely average dudes or below average, and for some reason they'll just be really picky and negative about every set or every chick that you want to approach. If there's a guy like that, it's obviously it's not good either.
Mm-hmm.
Just because makes it less fun, you know. One of my
Right.
guys that I do wingman, do game with a lot in Tokyo is he is really good game, really good game. He's not an online coach or anything like that, but very good at game. And I mean, he can get with tens and everything, but he'll still, he'll still have fun with, average girls and have a good time and dance with them and, even make out with them. And,
Mm-hmm.
but I know guys that, the guys that I don't do game with, that would be like, oh, she's not a 10. I'm not going to dance with, I'm not going to like dance with her. And it's like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, she's still hot. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
pickiness is it's just a buzz kill,
Mm-hmm.
when we go out on nights out, we're like trying to talk to a lot of girls. It's not like just because you're dancing and talking with the girl doesn't mean you have to have sex with her. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like she
Right.
might,
Sometimes you just go have fun and stuff, but eventually, as you're making your rounds and everything, you'll
yeah,
find that girl. No, that's
absolutely.
that's a good way of looking at it. Like, it's a good mindset to have. Just go out and have fun, and then just talk to a bunch of girls and eventually, because then you'll get like in a state of flow and everything. And then
To be
eventually,
honest,
when it comes time to see that girl that you want to run some game on, then there you go.
yeah, man. To be honest, it makes you hornier. Like you're talking to all these girls. They don't need to all be tens. Um, you know, uh, yeah, that's another fucking pet peeve of mine. So when a guy is like not so attractive himself, but he's like, oh, she's like, oh, something wrong with her hair or her nose, or it's like, dude, shut the fuck up. We're just trying to like do some game. Just you don't have to bang them, You know what I mean? When you're in a nightclub situation, it's like you should just get in a flow situation, like you said, and bounce around. And ultimately, it makes you more attractive. Like see, the thing is, when girls see you, if it's a nightclub you're doing game in, if girls, if surrounding girls, so it's like the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. If you're in a nightclub and you're like, girls see you dancing with girls and like having a good time with them, that makes you, if girls see other girls being receptive to you, that makes you more attractive to every girl in the club. If girls
Mhm.
kind of see you getting rejected or not with other girls, that makes you less attractive. So it works like that. A lot of guys
Mhm.
don't understand that. So it's like the rich get richer, the poor get poorer.
No,
So
that's
the
no, that
more
no,
girls you have, the more girls you have. The less you have, the less you have.
no, and that's true. Like I agree. I always try to like if I just mingle with a bunch of girls, as I'm out doing my thing. Yeah, last night I was out at like I was out in the club district here in Arizona, and like I did that same thing. Came in, got to bar, saw two girls, very gorgeous girls. Then I went over to a couple other girls who were part of this event I was with and everything, and I'm just all fired up, having fun, and you don't want to be that. I used to be that guy who would just walk into a nightclub and just stand there and have a couple drinks. And even when I started doing game back in, even this is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Oh, it's still, hopefully they don't dock me for like using a Star Wars quote here. But anyways, I remember my first when I was reading Mystery Method. And you remember Mystery Method in the game by Neil Strauss?
Mm.
Like I go in there and run those routines and everything. I had a book of routines. But then from there, like I could never like transition from natural conversation from the routines. I relied on those routines.
Right. Okay. That's funny because I never even read that book, so I don't know. Maybe it probably better that I didn't because
No, you're
I
glad you didn't, because like it's just a whole lot of stuff you have to learn and stuff, and like
Mm,
there's so many different concepts you got to learn and you got to implement. You know, there's like there's an approach phase one, approach phase two, and approach phase three, and then there were different steps that you had to take during all those approaches and everything. So
see.
that it's just too much. I'd rather just be myself and natural and
Mm,
just, be have that charismatic vibe as I walk into the club,
mm.
just socializing with everyone.
Freestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, yeah, guys can overcomplicate it. Like I really like teaching on boot camps because it strips away all the complicated like theory about it, and it's just like we're out doing it, and then I can kind of give them real time advice, so I see all the mistakes. I don't even have to think about, oh, he's, I don't have to explain anything before we do it. We go out and we just dive straight into the deep end, approaching chicks, and then the mistakes that the people doing the boot camp, the guys doing the approaches, I can just see them very obviously and clearly, and then I can just relay those mistakes and give them advice in real time, you know? So it's much better than reading like books or anything like that. Like
Right,
the best thing you
exactly.
can do is like get out there and actually do it, and then you learn from and if you have someone that is experienced at game, they can like correct, tighten your game up real quick because like they can just see you doing making all these mistakes, and then they can just relay those mistakes to you and tell you like what to do. Like I had a guy just last week, and he was one of the first mistakes he was making. I said, go and approach that girl. I want to see how he did it, and obviously he was nervous about doing it. And the first thing he did was kind of run up behind her and like, call her and then like tap her on the shoulder from behind. And that was
Oh.
like terrible approach, like, terrible, the worst approach. And that's fine. Like, I mean, he'd never done it before. He didn't really have any clue about how to do day game or cold approach. So obviously I told him like, dude, you never like, first of all, don't like touch them, like and certainly not from behind. Needless to say, he didn't get her number, but she just kind of ignored him and actually kind of ran away. But so like when you make those mistakes straight off the bat, you can call them out, and obviously he's not going to do that again. Obviously, when you're making an approach to a girl, if she's walking on the street, you approach her from the side and like, you know, instead of like coming up from behind and calling at her, and like it's just super awkward.
Mhm.
Like the thing about cold approach is that you want it to be kind of as smooth as possible. Certainly in Japan, you don't want to create a scene. Like if you create any kind of scene, it's not good at all. So that's why whenever I'm doing a cold approach on the street in Japan, um, I always approach. So if the girl's walking in one direction, I come up beside her and I open her when I'm a pace or two ahead of her. So like a step or two. So like not directly parallel to her, a little bit ahead of
So you
her. So
walk in front of her a bit, you're saying, and then
yeah, just a little bit ahead of her,
yeah.
like a pace or two, so she can kind of see me in her periphery. And then, sometimes I don't even open them, like, because a lot of times they're like, say their earphones are in. All like I use my hand, I kind of wave over, and
Mhm.
depending on, so that's the opening. Sometimes, a lot of the time, actually, like I'll wave open, and if they have to give me something, they have to give me something. So if they completely ghost me and ignore me, even though they've seen me, I see them looking at me, then I won't even bother trying to open her. So like
Right.
it's all about game is really not that complicated when you strip it all, when you learn game fully and like
Hmm.
realize what works, you kind of strip all the bullshit
Yeah,
away.
and that comes from their experience. And I realized too, even when I make start conversations with girls, I can tell like if it's going to continue or not right away and stuff. And I don't push it. You know what I'm saying? I know because I have good how should I say, intuition. Then that's what you gain as you go out there and you have more conversations. Just you're very intuitive whether or not this girl's even interested. And I can very tell at the back just depending how she's communicating to me and stuff, or if she's like opening up or shutting down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man, for sure. Like mastery is like simplifying things.
Mm-hmm.
Mastery is like simplifying something that's kind of complicated. So I mean, game is kind of complicated when you first start doing it, but over time it becomes very simple because
Right.
you know how to do it, obviously. But you're
And
stripping away the
another
unnecessary bullshit.
right. And another aspect of the game, which, yeah, there's a strategic aspect, but I think also there's also like the inner game, yourself as well, and just figuring out you and just overcoming your anxiety, having the confidence to go out there and actually going out there and communicating girls with confidence and everything.
Right.
And being able to be aware of some of like your negative thought patterns, some of your beliefs, and work on kind of fixing those so you can make it happen. Because like it's in the end, it's you sometimes, the way you come off and the way you feel about yourself and you see the world around you that can affect your success with women.
Right. Um, guys that will never be very successful at day game are guys that can't handle rejection. If you're a guy and you can't get over, if your ego is just too big and you just like you get too angry about rejection and you get because you know when girls reject guys, sometimes girls are rude, like they're just really like bitchy about it. But if you can't handle that, then day game is not for you. It's not gonna like. Of course, we're all human, so it kind of affects us in some way. But you have to teach yourself. You have to teach yourself not to let it get to you, because if you do,
Right.
you're never gonna be good at game. Like you're really not, because you actually want to be really good at day game and cold approach. You have to like not let rejection get to you.
Hmm.
Some guys are really terrible at games, so and they're not learning from their mistakes, so they get rejected hundreds or even thousands of times, so that it builds up into this. They get super negative, and then it's just like unfortunately, it's just like a downward spiral. So you're either learning from your mistakes or you're you're just getting worse. You get what I mean?
Hmm.
Um,
Right.
you have to learn as you go because like I said, definitely putting yourself in front of women and you know uh trying to talk to them is the best way to learn game. But if you're not getting any results after like hundreds of approaches, there's something seriously wrong with your game. Like there's something
Hmm.
really wrong with you or your game. So it could be, so some guys really do need coaching. Like they definitely do. It's
Hmm.
just because there are guys out there that have come to me and they're like, I've done thousands of approaches and I've never gotten laid. And it's like, God damn, bro. Like, okay, we need to like figure out what's going on here, and it could be, and we get to the root of it eventually, but sometimes it's very obvious to me. It's like, okay, you've done thousands of approaches. You look like shit, bro. Like your fashion is shit. You're like, you're overweight. Like,
Your
and then
mindset
we,
too is
huh?
crappy. Your mindset too. I think if
Yeah,
you have,
crappy mindset,
yeah.
and then I figure out that they've been doing goofy shit like tapping girls on the shoulder from behind, like getting butthurt, being like negative, like so it makes sense that they've been getting rejected like thousands. They say, "Oh, day game's a scam, like it doesn't work." No, it's you don't work because you're doing it wrong. There's so many things you need to improve on.
Mhm.
So it's like, I, it's a very common thing. We all say, it's a numbers game. It is a numbers game. It absolutely is. But you need to be getting a certain level of success to remain sane, because
Mhm.
that is true. Like, you really do. Like, you can't do like hundreds of approaches and face that amount of rejection and get no results.
Mhm.
Like, because we're
I
all
think
human. Huh?
another hurdle though to day game is like with the online dating. I think a lot of people get caught up on the apps and stuff, and it keeps them from going to approaches. 'Cause I got in this phase for a while too, where I'm just getting out of this, where I just was having more success on the apps. And so I didn't give a damn about like really taking the time to approach.
Right. Yeah, I
But
mean, I know a guy that a guy that came to me, and he was having good success on the apps, but he wasn't satisfied with the quality of the girls he was getting. He just,
Mhm.
as in looks wise, he was getting like, he was kind of capping out at like a 6 or 7 out of 10. Like, he was getting a good quantity of them. Like, he wasn't short of getting laid, but you know, he wasn't getting anywhere near the kind of girls that he was seeing on a daily basis out and about in Tokyo. So that's why, this is why day game is so important, for
Mhm.
guys that really want to like get with really hot, super hot, really pretty much want to be able to get with 10 out of 10s, or eight sevens, eights, nines, tens. Um, you really need to approach those girls in real life, because it's extremely difficult to get those girls' attention online. Extremely difficult. Like, if a girl is a 7 out of 10, she pretty much has infinite options. So you're talking eights, nines, and tens online. They're You can't imagine how much attention those girls get. They feel like celebrities. They
Mhm.
literally, if they have any kind of online presence, like Instagram, whatever it may be, dating apps, they're gonna have hundreds, if not thousands, of options. You know,
Mhm.
so even if you're a good looking guy, you're probably gonna get lost in the fucking pile. So what's the best way to get a girl's attention like that? Is in real life. Put yourself in front of her. You see her on the street, you're like, go up and cold approach her and try and talk to her. There's like
Mhm.
some of the girls that I've gotten with from day game. I know there's not a chance in hell she would have responded to my DM, or she would have swiped right on me on a dating app. It just wouldn't have happened. It would not have happened, because it just wouldn't. No way, not a chance. Like, I've gotten with girls from day game that have like hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers and stuff like that. So there's just no way, man. You know.
No, that's interesting. So that, but I don't. I want to cover that. This is a great topic. I like that we're talking about this, but I also want to cover the last two things about money and status. So do you think women, when it boils down to them finding a guy, do you think money is an important factor, or does that come number one, two, or that's three? But is there certain things that outweigh that?
Okay. So money is like the least important thing. I mean, as a man, money's important. Like, it gives you freedom, it gives you confidence, stuff like that. But money doesn't make you like it doesn't make a woman's pussy wet. Like, it doesn't turn her on. It it can make a woman respect you, but it doesn't. Yeah, it's not. If you're a busted guy and you're weird, you're not funny, you're like, if your game sucks, like, money doesn't, like, it doesn't make her more attracted to you. If she's a gold digger, maybe she's gonna want something, material from you.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, if she wants something material, she's basically trying to get paid to bang you. So, like,
Right.
so
Yeah.
money really doesn't matter. So, like, money can help your game in the sense that you can dress better, you can live in a nice spot, like, very, because location is a hugely important factor with game. It's a huge thing. So money helps you set yourself up and make you a better man if you let it. There's so many guys that have tons of money, but they dress like shit. They're out of shape, so they're not really utilizing their money, even as it is.
Right, exactly. I
So,
believe I like what you said because I believe it gives the guy more options and stuff, better location, better clothes and everything. But in the long run, I don't think that's a factor. I know some people who won't get into a relationship because they don't think they have enough money because they think girls only want money and
right.
will find the money attractive. Because it's kind of like, I guess it could be considered a status symbol in a way, but in
Mm.
the I kind of I and yet I think, yeah, there are some women out there who are like that, but I'm like saying not all women are like that, but they get that belief. I don't know where they get it from. Maybe they watch too much YouTube or something, and they see too many negative things about money. But I don't think like all women are like that. And I don't think some women don't find money important. Some women do, and it's just
I
it boils
mm.
down to your, like you were saying, your personality, just the way that woman feels when she's with you and everything, and the way you know what I'm talking about.
Listen, I think it depends on a few factors. It depends on the woman's age and how hot she is. Okay, so if a woman is like 20 years old and she's young and hot, I think between the ages when a woman is like in her absolute prime beauty years, between 18 and 22, I would say women. The funny thing is, women are their most at that age. They're willing to bang guys just based on attraction. They're not that interested in money. Of course, it. Of course, if they can choose between two guys and they're both equally handsome and they both have same game, but one guy has more money, and they're gonna choose the guy with more money, like they're because he can offer a more fun time. He can do things. He can pick her up in a car, and it's just kind of obvious. Obvious things like they're gonna choose a guy that can, because guys have to understand, women are not the fucking same as men. We're not the same. Women do not prioritize sex like men do. And I'm not saying women don't like sex. They do like sex, but to the
Hmm.
extent that men like sex, it's they just don't. They don't like sex that they don't prioritize sex that much. They want other things other than
Hmm.
I think they want other things other than sex. Like they prioritize other things. They're more about like having an experience. That's why girls really care about dates, and they want to do other things. They want to do other things before sex. Guys really, they're not so much, they kind of just want to get to the sex, right? If we're just
Hmm.
being honest. It's not that you can't enjoy a date. You can't, it's not, as a guy, it's not that you can't enjoy being in the company of a woman if she's fun and feminine, and you can enjoy her company. But
Hmm.
um you know we have to understand as men that like women don't prioritize sex like we do. You have to play this game with them.
Hmm.
Mm. So
Interesting
yeah,
concept.
man, it's just it's yeah. So like I was saying, it boils down. We're talking about money. It's like once a woman gets to a certain age, she starts to prioritize money more. Uh, like because she's thinking more about long term security. It's in their DNA. It's built like they're so forget even with all this feminism and boss bitch shit, they still care about a man's money because it's kind of they're hardwired that
Well,
way.
then you can argue though that women might not care about that because some women, they make a lot of money. They don't need to rely on a man for
Right,
money.
right,
You know
right.
what I'm
And
saying?
that's an interesting point as well because but the thing is like when a woman makes her money, it's her money. But when a man make the reason men don't give a fuck about a woman's money is because we know as men, when she makes her money, it's her money. She's not gonna, even if she pays for something for you, it's still gonna be a turn off for her. She's not gonna enjoy. Women are stingy as fuck. Let's be honest. They're stingy as fuck. They don't like paying for men. They like keeping what's theirs for them. Like this idea that women are all like giving, and no, they don't like sharing their bag, you know? It's theirs, you know. So it's going
Hmm.
to be a turn off for a woman to have to pay for a man in any,
Hmm.
even if she can afford it. So that's why men don't care. We don't give a fuck about a woman's you know, how much money she makes, because we know that, you know, even if she makes way more than you, she's going to want a guy that makes more than her. That's the cold hard truth. Um but you know, this we're talking about, you know, relationships and stuff here, you know. Um
Hmm.
but when it comes to, if you're just trying to hook up and stuff, um, you know, money matters less, but it starts to matter when you start wanting to get like in a relationship with someone. You
Hmm.
get what I'm saying?
Well, I think, but I think as long as a guy is making money, bringing in a decent amount of money, and she's making, maybe she's making a little more or something like that. I think the fact that at least if you got shit going on for you, where you're bringing in money, and plus you got more goals going on for you.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, that can be a factor. Like if he
Yeah, yeah,
sees
yeah.
that he may not be getting paid at his one job, yet he's doing all these other things to make extra money. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I
And that,
mean,
that can be an overlook because she's gonna think, well, this guy is the go-getter. He's not lazy. He's actually looking to strive. He's striving to make himself better and grow his finances.
yeah.
So that can be looked at it as a different way as well. But if in a relationship type of deal, you know what I'm talking
Mm.
about.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a guy and you're active and you're driven and you're motivated and you're striving to make yourself better every day, you're on the right path, even if you're not bowling, you know. You don't need to
Mhm.
feel like, you know, I'm not, you know, women will be that's attractive to women. It doesn't necessarily, you don't, like I said, you don't need to be bawling. They'll be attracted to you if you're like actively, visibly working towards something.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
it's
Because it shows that that's gonna bring something later on in the future.
mm,
So
it's
so
unattractive. Yeah. And just one thing, it's obviously unattractive if you're a guy that's visibly not working towards something. If she sees you and you're not really doing anything, she's it's unattractive to women in general, because you're a lazy dude. Like women aren't attracted to lazy guys.
mhm. Right, exactly. And I think, yeah, and so I just think looking at the whole perspective when it, looks, money, and status. I mean, yes, it's out there. I agree, but I think there in certain. I think for certain people that it's different. I just think it's different. Like everyone's not this has. Some women have the same viewpoint about all that stuff, but some don't. Like I take a more optimistic approach, but I know, like, yeah, there are some women who care about money, and that they want a guy who's a millionaire.
Mm,
But then so I mean, it's just everyone's different. That's just my perspective on things. Like my dad always taught me, like he even said, like, no girl's going to want to be with you if you don't have a lot of money. That affected my mindset at one point. And I just had to, learn how to, ignore that, because if I kept that, if I say, well, well, I can't get a relationship unless I make money in this, then that's going to ruin my mindset on things, and then I'm
mm.
not going to go out there and try. But if I go out there and try and make the effort, I can eventually find someone who's seeing eye to eye with me on things. It might take a while. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, leading with your wallet is obviously not what you want to be doing.
Well,
Like you
no, and
meant.
that I and and I do not. I'm not that type of person. I know some people even ask, like when they ask me out, and meet them online, they'll be like, "Well, let's go out to dinner or something like that." And I don't even know you yet, and all I want to do is have a drink, cup of coffee, but we're not going to do a dinner. And then I tell them that, and then I never hear from them. So I know right off the bat, right there, that person was just interested, looking for something of money, and I don't give a fuck. I'll find someone who's not. I mean,
Yeah.
that's just how you deal with it, man. It's like it's a numbers game too.
Yeah, I'm not interested in doing interviews to be a boyfriend either. When a girl is very insistent on having dinner with you, you can't she's kind of telling you what's going on. It's there's not gonna it's she's being kind of she might not know that she's being upfront, but for a guy that's experienced in game and female nature, she's basically saying, oh, okay, I'm doing interviews to find a boyfriend, and you need to take me for dinner, and I'm not going to do anything for 3 or 4. It's like, okay, I'm most likely not. I'm not going to take that date unless I'm it's extremely rare that I'll go and on a date with a girl that is saying we have to have dinner. I very rarely do that. Occasionally I'll do it if it's like it fits in my schedule and I'm actually want to eat at that time. And it's like, okay, this is when she's available. It's like 7 p.m. Usually I eat at that time. It makes sense to eat then. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
If it makes sense. But if it's like, okay, I don't even want to eat at that time, it doesn't fit my schedule. Like I don't usually eat. I'm gonna like, nah, let's just have coffee or whatever. I'm always leading with like, let's meet for coffee anyway.
Mhm.
I'm always like, I'm never suggesting dinner, but
Right.
if a girl is very insistent on either dinner or nothing, then okay, I know what's going on here. I know that she's not DTF, and it's kind of, I'm not willing to invest 3 or 4 dates just to lead her on thinking that I'm gonna, you know what I mean? It's just too much investment. I'm not, so oftentimes I won't go on that. There's a lot of dates I don't go on out of like, because I'm not willing to compromise. Like, and that's because I can predict the future. I can predict how it's gonna roll out. I'm gonna take her for dinner. It's not that you can never seal the deal. You can never get a lay after taking girl for dinner. You can sometimes, but it's like the probability is like, from my experience, I have so much experience. The probability of sealing the deal, because girls that generally want to go on dinner dates with you, they've already decided. They've already decided. Okay, this is like a guy that those girls generally aren't fucking around, and sometimes they even. It's a fucking annoying thing about it is sometimes they, like girls that are doing those dinner dates, they already have a sex friend or a friend with benefits like going on. So that's why they have their guy that's fucking them. And then they're like, okay, I want a boyfriend now. So I'm going to do these interviews, go on dates. So like they're already getting sexually satisfied from some other dude or a few other dudes. This is actually what's going on in 2022 going into 2023. Girls literally have different guys for different things. And I'm not saying all girls, but I'm saying this is the culture we live in. So it's very widespread. It's extremely widespread that it's very common for girls to be doing this right now. Certainly in cities, maybe less so in small towns and stuff, but like in somewhere like Tokyo, this is absolutely part of the culture, like part of, any big city around the world. This is what's going on. Girls will have guys that are banging them, 1 or 2 guys, casually hooking up with. So they're getting sexually satisfied. And then, she's in her mid-20s. She wants a boyfriend. So she'll do interviews. She'll go on these dinner dates. And, so she has no real incentive to hook up with you on that dinner date. So it's going to take investment from you. So if you're someone like me that just wants to live a player lifestyle and get laid, maybe you even want a girlfriend, but you still don't want to be getting like having to, invest like a month, month and a half to fucking, 3 or 4 dates to get laid. Some of the girls that I've dated in the past, we've hooked up on the first night. So it's it's certainly it's when you're so tuned in and aware of the game, it makes it your patience goes a lot down, because you understand that this girl is getting piped down by some dude, but you're gonna have to take her on a dinner date. So I'm like, no, thank you. No, thank
Mhm.
you. I'd like
Well,
to
you
meet.
mentioned like the dinner dates are for like more relationship ones. So if you're not even looking for the relationship, then why go on the dinner date? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's what your interpretation of it is. That's what I'm getting
honestly,
from what you're saying.
that's like, the thing is like, guys that are extremely inexperienced with women, and so it's there's levels to the game. So like if you haven't had a date in over a year, and I'm not telling you to turn down a dinner date. So like game is not a one size fits all solution. You know, every guy has to customize game for themselves, where they're at on the totem pole. You know, that's the cold hard truth. So a guy, like I said, a guy that hasn't had a fucking date in a year, he should take that dinner date because he needs to get the fucking experience. He needs to like get the ball rolling. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
But
exactly.
like if
No,
you're like someone like me, you don't need to take the dinner date because you already have some girls to bang. Like you've been in the game, you understand. You have an abundance, right?
mhm.
But like a guy that's at zero, he's fucking has nothing. He needs to fucking put in some work and get some experience with
But
women and learn.
what about this though? Is there exceptions, say, for guys like you and me when we go through our dry spells? You know, because we all go. We were just talking about this before we got onto the stream. The dry spell and stuff. Sometimes I think we both go through dry spells and
Oh
stuff,
yeah,
and those can last for like a month or what, a month or two,
yeah.
whatever.
I mean, if I was on a dry spell, I might take the dinner date then. But
Hmm.
like that's just that's because you're on a dry spell. Um I mean, yeah, like if you're on a dry spell, you have to face up to the reality that you're on a fucking dry spell. You've no other
Yeah.
options. That's
But
not
do you think those like dry spells happen for like a reason? Like, do you think it's like,
dude,
you
like
think they're meant to happen because so like just to kind of for you to take a break? That's like kind of saying take a break, focus on doing things, and then go back to it, or is it just because is it something with the your game or something internally, like something in your life that's gone on and stuff that's causing that?
I can't remember like I have had a dry spell. I think the last time I had a dry spell was the start of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, man, it's like, you know, if you're not in a relationship, you're obviously gonna not obviously. It depends on your game level, but your dry spell. I don't know. For some people, a dry spell might be a week. For some people, it might be a few years. It depends on where you're at in game. It depends on what you're up to.
Right.
Um,
No, I hear you. Yeah, and just how much action you're willing to take, put forth to overcome that dry spell and stuff.
like I mean, for
Yeah.
me, a dry spell would be a week. That's because I have access to a lot of sex if I want
Hmm.
it. But um, yeah, I mean, if I was on a dry side, no other options. I meant, and I had nothing else to do, and some hot girl is kind of wanting to have dinner. Maybe I'll take that dinner date, in that situation. But it really depends, man. But ideally, like I said, you don't want to be compromising. You want
Oh,
to.
I don't like. See, my problem is though, even if I were in a dry spell though, like yeah, it'd be hard to compromise like that. Plus, I have, I don't, and I have standards, and I just don't want to lower my standards to overcome a dry spell. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, that would be me just like sinking low. You know what I'm saying? I mean, or is it good to lower your standards if you're having a dry spell? I don't know, but
I
like,
mean, it's always better to be having sex than not having sex because it's kind of like when women can smell the thirst off you, and it makes it harder to
hmm.
get laid. Even you become more repulsive. Like I've said it time and time again. The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. So when you're getting laid, it makes it easier to get laid. When you're
Hmm.
when you're not getting laid, when you're on a dry spell, it's like can be hard for guys to get out of that rut because they become negative and they start to reinforce that negative mindset.
And that's why, but if you were a guy who had good emotional intelligence and was aware of that, you can learn to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
think you could do that. But if
Yeah.
you so say that you are in that dry spell and you're like noticing these behaviors and stuff, yeah, that and you realize, well, that's what's fucking you up.
Hmm.
You have to become aware of that and learn the way to cope with that behavior. And I'm always I got a lot going on, so I'm like I
Right.
could always say, hey, I got shit to focus on, which keeps me busy. I got sets a few goals for myself, so that kind of keeps me going. Plus, I'm So that helps sometimes with that. But important thing is I know I do realize got to go out there and take the action and change the way of thinking about things, just to make it happen again. Because I look at things, hey, even when you're going through a dry spell, you're like, well, hey, you made it happen before you can make it happen again. You just got to recognize that, say
Right.
that you've done it before, and it's not the end of the world.
Right. Yeah, man, you just hit on the point that should guys lower their standards, and it really depends on what you mean by lowering standards, because that where are your standards? What kind of guy are you? I do know that some guys have very high standards, or some guys have very low standards. So there's kind of a difference there, but some guys, I do know that, like, if you're overweight as a guy, it can certainly lower your testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
And ironically, when you have very low testosterone, you're not that interested in sex. So as a result of that, you might have very high standards, even though you're like overweight and you're very like low quality, in terms of appearance. If you're an overweight dude, let's be honest, you're pretty low on the SMV chart, if you're
Mm-hmm.
obese. But so some guys think their standards are way too high for their physical appearance. um and it's because they have very low testosterone.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've run into that. So they as a guy, it's definitely super important to take care of your physical health. Like you need to be in good shape as a guy. There's no fucking excuse. You just gotta fucking do it.
Well,
Like
not just physical, but mental health too, man. Because
absolutely. Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, like but working on your physical self, well, we're also working on your mental health too. Building that
man,
confidence and that mindset right there.
100%. I mean, I just can't relate to guys that don't want to exercise or work out. It's like, because if I miss a week, even a week or a day of working out, I just feel so much worse. I mean, I just feel irritated, and like I didn't get a certain release. I need to do it. So it certainly helps mental health. You need to work out as a guy. It really helps your body, your physical and mental health.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, man. Like, past 2 months, like I just had some extra stuff going on and stuff, extra like, interviews with potential clients and, just adulting stuff I had to take care of. And that kind of got in the way of my workout schedule. And I kind of like only days where I only went to the gym like once a week or sometimes twice. And I just finally was able to these past 2 weeks get myself back into my normal routine, and like it just feels great just to be able to do it. I was a little bummed though when I went to the gym on Wednesday though, and the gym closed down early because of the holiday, so I didn't get my full workout in, but I got that in. I said I was going to go.
Yeah, man. I mean, even if the gym is closed, you can always. I don't even use a gym. I do calisthenics and work out in the park or go for a run. So there's always a way to work out. You don't necessarily absolutely need the gym. Um, there's always going to be a way,
Right,
Uh,
exactly.
even if you need to just do push-ups, just like do sets of push-ups. Um, you know, you don't need a full gym membership to be super fit.
Right,
Uh,
no, that's true.
mm.
But yeah, man, you want to wrap this up because I want to go have my pumpkin pie.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
But we'll catch
All
up for
good.
a bit. So yeah, summing everything up, how would you what would you say are some takeaways that people, our viewers, can take, from this broadcast?
Well, you gotta hit on everything. You can't neglect any one thing. Looks, money, status. You gotta try and be working on all of them at the same time. Um, yeah, you really do. If you're missing one of them, it's gonna affect your life in some way or the other. So you might be scoring high in looks, you might be scoring low in money. You need to try and level them out. and as best you can, you know, try and be working on them all, and don't neglect one or the other. Always be trying to improve, and if you're genuinely trying, then you got nothing to worry about. Like if you're genuinely trying, and you might be failing sometimes, but that's like you can go to bed at night and you can sleep soundly because you know you're trying.
Right. I like that. I would do the same takeaway. Just go out there and you just make it happen for yourself. Build your mindset. Work towards what it is you're working for in life, so you can build that status and don't go in there with the mindset thinking that you got to have all of it just to have a relationship or be a girl. It kind of they all I mean, it's important to some extent, but there's more to that. And like you go in there and you're working on yourself and you got the mindset, you're going out there just taking the action in life, talking to women, working on whatever it is you're doing. I mean, just you're manifesting that into your life rather than if had a negative mindset about shit, weren't taking action and not working towards the goal. So I look at the perspective, just focus on you, work on achieving what you want, go take the actions to make shit happen for yourself. And yes, it's tough. It's not going to go 100% all the time, but don't give up. Be a fucking man and push forward. And you'll eventually make it happen. That's how I look at it.
Absolutely.
Well, rock on, Mac. Well, thanks for coming on. I'd like to have you on again. Definitely, probably next year. Because I'm only going to be doing a few more shows, and then I'm moving, and so I'm not going to be doing too much shows after like the second week of December. So definitely like to have you back on in January after I get into the move. I can't wait to figure out how I'm going to set up the new studio in the apartment.
Cool.
But definitely like to have you on again and tell people where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Mac the Day Gamer. You can go to my website, macthedaygamer.com. Pretty much, any of the socials. You can send me a DM on best place, I guess, is maybe Instagram. Send me a DM. With any questions, you can even send me an email, macthedaygamer@gmail.com. So a lot of ways to reach me, a lot of ways to find me.
Yeah, rock on. And you can find me at my website, commandyourconfidence.com. I got coaching. I got my book. I didn't tell you I published my book last year, The 5 Pillars of Self-Confidence. So my book's on there. It's available like an ebook. And if you go on Amazon, it's on Amazon. Also, like I said, I do coaching as well. So if you guys need help with some mindset stuff or just goal setting or, whether working on becoming good with women, working on a business, stuff like that, I'd be happy to help you out. And yeah, be sure if you're a new viewer or if you like the video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up. Go check out Mac's channel as well. And yeah, we'll see you guys next year. And thank you very much for tuning in, and peace.